Hello, all. Good evening. Welcome to the GRE, the 80-20 rule. I am Priya Narayanan. I am a verbal master trainer with Manya. I have been with this organization for the past 6 years. So let us hope that this webinar goes ahead in a very interactive way and it's fruitful for you people, right? Yes, so first let us look at the agenda of the session. We are going to talk about the structure of the GRE and then the skills that get tested on the GRE and how to use the 80-20 rule to improve your GRE score, what an average student does, and how to do things differently, as in what a smart test taker would do, right? And when to take the test and what to do on the test day, right? And towards the end, I have a few questions that we can work with. And the last 5 minutes, you can raise it out, right? You can share the questions in the chat box. Okay, whatever issues you have, you can share it in the text box and we will add it to it, right? Great. So let us get started. I know most of you here know how the GRE works, right? Yes or no, people? Can we have it on the chat box? Most of you know what the test has. Okay. And okay, but okay, Andrilla says she doesn't. Okay, so first let us see what this test is made of, right? GRE is a six sections, 4 hours online test, right? So sounds a bit scary, right? 4 hours of online. Okay, and first, the test always starts with the analytical writing section. Here, you have to write two essays, an issue essay and an argument essay. Each has a time limit of 30 minutes, right? And at the end of this section, you have a minute's break, and then it moves to the other sections. You have five more sections after this. Okay, two of them will be verbal and two of them will be quants, and there will be one experimental section which can be either quants or a verbal, right? Coming back to the verbal section, there are 20 questions per section. Okay, and each section will be for 30 minutes, and this test is basically a section adaptive test. How you work on the first section decides the difficulty level of the second section, right? On the map, again, you have two sections, 20 questions each, but it's slightly better because you have 35 minutes at hand. Okay. And this experimental section can be either math or verbal, and the time is dependent on the section. And how you score in this section is not going to affect your final GRE score. You either get everything right or you may get even everything wrong, but your final score doesn't change. Another important thing is you will not know which one is the experimental section. There is no indication as where it appears. Only thing is at the end of the test, right, after you complete all the six sections, you will understand that, if you had three verbal sections, one of that would be experimental, or if you had three math, one of them would have been experimental. Okay, and there is no fixed order in which these sections appear. They can be really random, right? Okay, Karthikeyan has asked for what is the better score for GRE to go to MS, right? Okay, so Karthikeyan, does this table give you any details? So, okay, so in fact, on the GRE, you will not see a 340 score. Rather, in the score report, you will see three different set of scores. One for math, one for verbal on a range of 130 to 170 both, and again an AWA score that ranges from 0 to 6. Okay, so if you get a 170 on the math, it will be a 96th percentile, as in you're on the top 4 percentage of test scorers. Okay, but on the verbal, it's a 99. Okay, just 5 marks less, as in if you get a 165, If you see your percentile drops to 85, you're in the top 15 percentage. But verbal is still 96. But if you get a 160, this is a 72, and this is a 85. Can you see that? This table is from ETS, of course. So this clearly shows like how your scores should be. If you want to be on the top, you really have to think of a 320 above always, right? Okay. So what are the skills that get tested on the GRE? So on the verbal, if you see, I'm sorry, on the verbal, if you see, uh, you have the vocabulary skills that get tested and also the reading skills, right? So vocabulary is something which is always carry. Am I right? You might have heard horror stories from your seniors or friends about the amount of vocabulary you have to read. Is it visible now, people? My screen? Okay, great. Right. So the vocabulary skills are tested on the text completion and sentence equivalence questions. So 50% of the test is about your vocabulary. Okay, you have six text completion, four sentence equivalence questions per section, right? And both of them test your vocabulary skills. And the reading skills are, I'm sorry, the reading skills are uh, tested on the reading comprehension, right? Here also you will have, say, 3 to 4 passages and around 10 questions related to those passages, but they are unlike what you would have seen in your regular RCs, right? What you would have been doing in school, okay? These are slightly different. Now, coming back to the quants section. So, on the quants, you will have arithmetic, algebra, you have arithmetic, algebra, geometry, and data analysis. People, is it the same for everyone? Like nobody is able to see the screen? Okay, let me just move over to the next screen, people. Just let me know if it's fine. Is this clear? Okay, great. So your thank you, people. So on the math section, you have your basics, what you have learned up to your 10th grade, arithmetic, algebra, uh, geometry, and data analysis, right? And in spite of that, people find it difficult to get a 170. Not everybody gets a 170 on the math section. Okay. So now let us come to the topic of the day, the 80-20 rule. Okay, the 80-20 rule is also called as the Pareto rule or the Pareto principle. This was given by Wilfredo Pareto, right? And what he observed was 80% of the wealth is actually accumulated by 20% of the population, right? Anyway, we are not here to talk about economics, but this rule seems to be very universal. Okay, so if you look at any organization, 80% of the work will be done by 20% of the workers, right? Have you ever seen that? Even at home, it works, I guess, right? 80% of the work is done by one person. Okay, and If you look at another side, 80% of your troubles come from 20% of the people whom you know. Am I right? Okay. So let us apply this universal rule for our GRE score improvement. Okay. So, so what does it mean? So you're going to spend only 20% of the time that you're doing now to cover 80% of the content. I'm not joking. I'm very serious about it. Okay. So let us see how that happens. Okay. Now, what is the time that you people spend on preparation for GRE? Okay, forget about if you're taking any courses, don't account that time. Beyond that, how much of time do you spend to sit and practice? I want the answers on the chat box. Come on, fast. How many hours on an average? Daily 1 hour. Okay. Shiv Prasad says three. Good. Two. Bhavna says she spends 5 hours. Great. 2 to 4 hours. Hmm. Andrila says 1 to 4. Okay. Thank you, people. Now, uh, I hope you all know that GRE happens on a daily basis, right? Okay, Dhruv says he hasn't started preparing. Okay, what exactly to prepare? Okay, Dhruv. So maybe at the end of the session, you'll have a better idea, more light on what happens in the GRE. Okay. Okay. So one thing that you people have to keep at the back of your mind is that GRE does not happen overnight. Okay. So it is a process. You have maybe a very small amount of time at hand, but you have to do the preparation on a regular basis, right? On a daily basis, you need to spend an hour or two rather than accumulating stuff for the weekend, right? Let me learn everything. Let me practice everything during the weekend or say one particular day. It's not going to happen. You have to do it a bit by bit, right? Okay. And now tell me, those who prepare for 1 hour or 2 hours or 5 hours, what are the things you actually do there when you're preparing for 1 hour or 2 hour? Other than studying, what else do you do? When do you prepare and what do you do? A chapter, lots of practice questions. Okay. Honestly, for 2 hours, Anuleka, Arvind is clear. Okay, someone has raised the hand. Someone has a doubt. Checking mobile. Okay, vocabulary building, practice previous questions. Right, so while practicing, okay, Roshan, that is precisely what I was about to talk about, right? So you have a lot of distractions. Your mom might walk in, okay, and say that, oh my God, my child has been starving right since, the evening. Let me, feed him, right? That is one thing which will commonly happen in our households, right? Okay. And other than that, your friend might sense that you're doing something fruitful and might just drop in a message to distract you, right? Does it happen with you people, right? Okay. And other than that, there are quite a lot of stresses, right? You may either be dreaming about what I'm going to achieve, or on the flip side, it could be a stress. Will I be able to get the score that I want? Am I right? Okay, will I be able to get a 320? And I have lots of peer pressure, a lot of, my parents want me to, achieve the score. My cousins have, gotten into some of the best universities. Will I be able to do that? Right? So there are lots of stresses that happen around. And beyond that, when I prepare, for example, those who are working on the verbal, what happens when you start reading a comprehension passage? Right? Say you have a 3 or 4 paragraph passage and you start reading it, what happens? Hard to understand, agreed, Abhiram, but what exactly happened will be like, won't you get zoned out? You lost. I mean, you lose track of what is happening in front of your eyes. Am I right? You'll just zone out for 5 minutes. You'll not know what is happening, what is in front of your eyes, and then you'll come back to this world. Am I right? So how to like tackle all these things, and these do not account towards your 20% of preparation time. Okay, these are the 80% of time that you're wasting. Okay, right. So let us do a little bit of math. You have 2 hours of time. Am I right? On an average, from what you people had shared with me, I understand that you spend around 2 hours. So of the 2 hours, if you even look at 20%, how much would that be? 20% of 2 hours. How many minutes will that be? 24 minutes. Very good. So let us say of that, instead of the 2 hours of work that you're doing, when you do it in a proper, effective way, you could get that work done within half an hour. 24, I'm just pushing it to the next half an hour. Okay, so what you can do in 2 hours could be done within just half an hour. Okay, and what does an average test taker do, right? How many of you have done this? Okay, going through all the possible websites, and there are tons and tons of materials available in the internet, right? It could be both videos or it could be books. Most of them are free, or sometimes your friends or your seniors have a lot of collection with them, so you just want to go and borrow it for you. How many of you do that, collecting tons of materials? You were planning to do it, okay? Free stuffs available on internet. Good. Okay. So when you say free stuffs, Shivam, do you stick to one book or one methodology, or do you have quite a lot at hand? Multiple websites, right? Multiple websites, multiple sources. And how much of the content do you think you will be able to cover? Say you have, say, 2 or 3 months for preparation. So, how many videos can you watch during that time? Or how many books can you read? And just trust me, every book will have a different methodology for the same set of questions. Okay, one book will say don't look at the answer options, another one will say go through the answer options and then look at the question, and the third one will say you predict an answer. Right? There are multiple, ways that people have written the book. Okay, so how will you choose which is the best methodology? Will you have time to test every methodology there? So by the time you reach all these, right, what happens? Your entire energy will be exhausted and you will not know what to do. All you will be is in a confused state. Okay. So that is one of the biggest mistakes that an average test taker does, trying to bite much more than they can chew, right? The second thing is join forums and groups. How many of you are part of GRE forums where you can discuss your doubts, clarify your doubts by your peers? Okay, somebody here. Remember one thing, everybody will have their own way. Not all of us are similar. Okay, so one thing will work for you might not work for another person. Okay, so getting your doubts clarified by your peers is probably not the best way. You need an expert's advice, not for this particular question, maybe a strategy that can work for all the questions, right? Okay, so don't depend on someone who is on the same position like you to help you with your GRE prep. Okay. And the third thing that we will tend to do is you will know some of the topics really well. Okay. So what you will do is repeatedly do only those questions, right? And feel really good. I did 15 questions today, and guess what? I've gotten all of them right. Okay, so and that would give you an ego boost. Okay, but what about the areas which are really difficult for you, right? What about something like the chat questions or the probability questions on the math? You still may not be very clear about the concepts, right? So what are you going to do about those topics? Tell me. Okay, so tell me one thing. People who score 320 and above, right? Do you think they are ultra smart? Maybe a handful of them. Do you think all of them will be ultra smart? Say in a classroom of 40 people, say five or six of them maybe really, are the ones who scored this 320 plus. Okay, so do you think they are smart learners? Very good. They're not extraterrestrials. They're also people like you and me. Okay, those who start from the scratch. So, what is the big difference between an average test taker and the smart one? They do things differently. They're not learning different things. Okay, they're just doing things in a slightly different or slightly smarter way. So, what will such a person do? A smart test taker do, right? The first step would be to sign up for a quality prep course. So when you say a quality prep course, what do you think you should be looking for in that, in a prep course? Yes. What would you expect from your preparation course? Can you share your opinion? Proper content. Very good. Yes, people, I would like to take others' opinion too. I'm waiting for it. Okay, so I mean strategies and techniques, right? Very good. So when I'm talking about a quality uh, prep course, the first thing that comes to my mind is the kind of content. Okay, some of you, in fact, vouch for downloading materials, right? So tell me one thing. Do you know if that material is a GRE type content? Will it be worth practicing it? Any idea? Has someone, certified it? Okay, so the first thing that I have to look for is the kind of content that is offered to me. Okay. Second thing is the strategies and the methodologies, right? Like what Drew have pointed out, and many of you have pointed out, right? So something which will help me get the correct answer along with it in a shorter period of time. Am I right? Great. Third thing is the kind of teachers you get. Do you think it plays a vital role in improving your score? Unless and until your teachers are also equally enthusiastic about teaching you, getting your doubts sorted out, reviewing your tests, and guiding you, I don't think your preparation would be complete. Okay, so these are some of the things that you have to look for while signing up for a quality prep course, right? Another thing is once you've trusted a prep course, use the entire material provided there. Okay, don't. Okay. So what you have to think about is, let me complete whatever material I have at hand, right? And then I can move over to other sources. Am I right? Third thing is having an effective study plan. Now, you people said that you spend around 2 hours, right? Say on an average. What will you do exactly in the 2 hours? Do you do only math or only verbal, or how exactly do you work out things there? maths and 40 verbal. Anuleka, have you taken any test before and do you know where you stand on the math and where you stand on the verbal? Is your math better than the verbal or no, no, is your math better than your verbal? Your math scores? The verbal is better, okay. And Jaswant says only fans for now. Why, Jaswant? Are you very sure about your verbal performance or? But this is something which I was talking about, right? We start doing things which we are good at, right? We practice more in areas where we are good at, right? And we skip out on the others. That's something which all the students tend to do. I know maths, right? Let me practice more. What's the whole idea of practicing more? How how to improve verbal? Mm, that's where your methodologies come in, Shreya. So you need to have a proper methodology or a strategy to tackle the different kind of questions, right? So that is what is going to help you improve your verbal scores. Learn your vocabulary, that is very important. We'll be talking about it in some time, okay? So have an effective study plan. So your study plan should involve solving harder questions. Don't pamper yourself with easy questions from the topics that you know. Okay. At the beginning, yes, do the easy questions, and slowly, as and when your scores start improving, you need to move over to harder questions. You need to face harder challenges. Those are the ones which are going to help you push your score. Okay. And second thing is you will make a lot of mistakes. How many of you take tests on a regular basis for GRE? You prepare, I totally agree. Do you practice with tests to see if you have improved your on the different areas? Yes, people. Do you take regular tests, GRE like tests? Okay, that is another mistake which people generally tend to do, right? So what you have to do is on a regular basis, once you have covered a particular chunk of topic, you have to go ahead and take another test to see if your scores are improving. There should be alternative days. Okay. So, you cannot take tests on a daily basis, Shivam. I'm talking about, say, a test per week or test once in 10 days. Okay. Not on a daily basis, of course. And that will not be of any use. So, another thing that we tend to do is like we just take tests and leave it as such. But remember, most of your learning will come from reviewing your tests. Okay, go through all the questions where you have made mistake. If it is a silly mistake, make a note of it. Like what was the silly mistake that you have made? And next time, if you face a similar scenario, avoid that mistake, right? Second thing is, you may have gotten a question wrong because you're not clear about the concepts. You either don't know or you're not very clear about it. Okay. So make a note of those concepts, right? Some of the tests actually show you like these are your weaknesses and these are your strengths, and you know what to work upon. Okay. So what you have to do is go through every question, right? Review those questions where you have made mistakes. If your concepts are not clear, the next thing you will do is go ahead, learn those concepts and practice questions in those areas, and then take another test. Okay. If the learning does not come from the test, you will not see any improvement. You will only take tests on regular basis, but your scores will not change. Maybe your timing can get a little better, but the scores will probably remain the same. There will not be much change there. Okay, is that clear, everybody? And of course, when you are taking a test or when you are preparing, you're practicing. Make sure you have 0% tolerance for distractions. Keep your mobile off, okay? And like a regular test center, okay, have a separate room for yourself. Don't get distracted by anybody. Don't let anybody in when you're preparing, okay? And how many of you can actually sit for 2 hours at one go and prepare? Or how do you, like actually do your preparation? Do you split it into slots, or do you just go about it on a single go? You just sit for 1 hour or 2 hours and you prepare. Splitting, okay. 3 hours with 10-minute break, okay. 2 hours. Some of you want to split it, some of you want to take it at one go. Fine. So that depends from person to person, but remember, Pomodoro, what is that, Anuleka? 50 minutes study, okay. Hmm. Okay, fine. Okay, so you can have an effective study plan. Okay, so you can say that first half an hour I'm going to do verbal, right? I'm going to take a few minutes break. So during the break, maybe you're allowed to use your mobile or take a walk, relax, and then come back, right? Distract yourself. But remember one thing, your GRE test is a 4 hours full length test with, of course, a few breaks in between. So you need to build that stamina, but when preparing, yes, you can think about having shorter breaks. Okay, and one small thing which I want to say about vocabulary. Okay, how many of you sit and prepare for vocabulary for say 1 hour or at least half an hour at one go? Yes, flashcards agreed, but do you do it at a go? 20 minutes. Others, Mendine for 30 minutes. Mhm. That is exactly the same thing, Nikila. So, your vocabulary, you cannot learn for beyond 15 minutes. Okay, to make it a fun learning, what you can do is you can make flashcards and keep it with you, right? So, when you're traveling or when you're, like relaxing, right? During that time, just flip through the vocabulary, the flashcards. Okay, that will help you learn in a better way than sitting at one place and trying to learn vocabulary for 30 minutes. Remember, after 15 minutes, your ability to grasp will go down. So, if you're learning for 30 minutes, split it into two 15-minute slots. Okay, so intersperse your vocabulary learning between two sections of your prep, right? That will come in handy. Now, let us look at what we offer, right? We have a customized GRE prep. Like what I said, not all of us are equal, right? Each one of us have our own strengths and weaknesses. But in spite of that, we can have a standardized methodology that can be followed by everybody, and we can see improvement in the scores, right? And that is what we offer at Manya, right? A customized GRE prep, and the questions that we offer are standardized, right? They are almost on par with what you will see on the GRE, okay? And you have some of them are spiral questions, and they are of really good qualities. They are advanced GRE questions, and you will get an explanation for all the questions there in our portal, right? What is wrong and what is right and why those answers are wrong. I need explanation for every question there. Okay. And we have 8 full length tests in our portal. and we have tests that include the experimental sections too, right? And these sections are, I mean, these tests are section-wise adaptive. I was talking about it at the beginning, right? How your performance in the first section decides the difficulty level of the performance, I mean, of the questions in the second section. Am I right? So our tests are section adaptive, and our classrooms ensure that all our students are engaged, right? So we make you think. We don't just keep teaching you. We make you think. We ask questions. We make you answer so that your learning happens through that. Okay. So if it's a 3 hours class, please be assured that the teacher will be talking for only 1.5 hours, right? The remaining of the talking will be done by the students. Okay. Remember, GRE is a timed test, so these are some of the pressures that we are going to look at. So it's a timed test, okay? And so you need a proper strategy and guidance to manage your test. Like I told you, you're going to face a lot of pressure while preparing, as well as on the day of test. You will have a lots of pressure on your head, okay? We have seen people who score like 320 plus 329, 330, 332, and on the test they probably end up much less, okay, for the simple reason that they get stressed out on the test day. Okay, so that is something which you have to think about. Okay, so whatever methodology you use, whether you go practice yoga, breathing technique, or whatever you do, remember one thing: you have to manage with these stresses. Okay, they are not going to go anywhere. You should learn to tackle them while preparing as well as while taking the test, right? Okay, a few quick strategies. So for the verbal, your vocabulary is very important, right? So other than your text completion and sentence equivalence, sometimes on the reading comprehension also you have questions that talk about contextual meaning of words, right? And how are the harder questions on the text completion and sentence equivalence? You get twisted questions with a difficult vocabulary. So that's only one straightforward way. Start learning the vocabulary, right? Someone asked me how to improve the verbal skills, right? Who was that? Shreya? Okay. So that's the only way to improve your verbal score as far as the vocabulary goes. And of course, your reading comprehension. So the biggest problem with reading comprehension is you zone out when you see the length of the passage and the language of the passage. Oh my God, I have never heard about art movements, right? I don't know anything about the American Civil War, right? So these are the kind of topics that you will come across, right? So beyond all that, you should have a common technique to handle the reading passages. This is not what I am suggesting. Even ETS suggests that you need to have strategies to tackle the passages. Okay, and another way of improving your score is not just know how to tackle the passages, know the different kinds of questions you will uh, face on the GRE, right? The different questions in the reading comprehension, and know how to answer them, right? Another thing that I want to add here is people on the GRE, if you have a proper strategy, you will understand one thing. All the passages are similar, okay? At the end of the day, the author wants you to believe something that he wants to sell. That's it. Okay. And all the question types can be classified into, like the main idea of the passage, or what the passage has to say, or why is this information present, what is the function. These are the common type of questions you will come across. Okay. So once you know this fact, working with the reading comprehension is like a cakewalk. Okay. So coming back to math, so How many of you have reached a 165 on the mark in your practice test? How many of you have reached a 165? 150 is the max. So that's something which you have to work upon, Anuleka. So, like I told you, review your tests and learn the concept. That is more important. Part by part, you have to learn. Okay, so this for the next 1 week, I'm going to learn this particular topic. Okay, and then take another test. That is how you should be doing it. So 150, 162, good. 147. So someone with a 150 or 147, it is more about the concept. Now let us look at somebody like Shivam. Shivam, did you understand where you're actually going wrong? So 165 on the math is something that most of you will reach because it's after all 10th grade math, right? So how can you cross from 165 to 170? From this 165 barrier, how can you reach 170? So one area that you can look for is the chart questions. Am I right? How many of you think that the chart questions are difficult? I can see a few hands being raised. Hmm. Okay, quite a lot of you think that it's difficult. Okay, so how to tackle? But I mean, have you not noticed that the chart questions after all test you on very basic concepts like ratio, percentages, percentage change, right? So the whole idea is know what the chart is about. Okay. First figure out what formula should I use. What information do I need to get the answer? Then strike the right chart, get the information and work on it. That is how you will save time and you will improve on the accuracy also. What we tend to do is like halfway through reading the chart, you will not know, you will not understand, you will try to mug up the values. All those things are not going to help you. Just know what the chart is about. Come back to the questions. See what information do you need, and accordingly pick the information. Okay. And another important area where you may tend to lose is the quant form, right? So you need to probably use multiple values. Try out the questions multiple. With multiple values and get the correct answer for the quant form, right? Different values basically. And all that applies again, right? This is something, like where you have to get all and the only correct answers. Am I right? The answers that you should choose should be only the correct answers there. Am I right? So you have to be very careful about these kind of questions. These are the areas where you will tend to lose marks. Okay, and also concentrate on harder topics, right? As in when you reach 165, the second section is going to be really hard, so you have to look at the harder topics too. And most importantly, when you read the question, see what it is asking for. Don't have your own assumptions there, right? So these are a few things which you should be looking for where to improve your math scores, right? So what are the steps to prepare? I was already talking about it. Prepare the topics, take regular tests. Don't repeat the test. Okay, that is not going to be of any use. Don't waste your tests. As in when you're ready, take a test. Okay, and after the test, work through it. If need be, you can take professional guidance there to review your test, understand where you're lacking and what should be done next. Okay, and accordingly start practicing in the areas and the study plan and sticking to it. Right, these are the major ones to improve your score. Now for a few questions. Okay, so we have another 15 minutes at hand, so let us try this few questions out there. So this one says newspaper report that the former executive has been trying to keep a low profile since his blank exit from the company. So what are the correct answers here? Can you give it in the blank? I don't think the vocabulary is hard in this case, right? Okay, so this is a sentence equivalence question, Bhumika. We need two answers for the blank. Okay, there are six answer options and you have to pick two. E and F, indecorous and unseemingly exit. Are they synonyms? Indecorous and unseemly? They are not. Okay, so that is mysterious. It's not fortuitous. No, no, it's not mysterious. It's indecorous and unseemly. Okay. Okay, so your answers need not be synonyms always. That is one thing which I wanted to make it clear from this question. They can be two different ones. No, it's certainly not celebrated, Ankita. No. So he had a low profile exit, right? Your answer should match that. So indecorous and unseemly, not expected one. Okay. So this is a double blank text completion, right? So in this case, we have to choose one answer per blank. Okay. Do you want to try? I mean, I want all of you to try this question and give me an answer. In stark contrast to his later blank, Simpson was largely blank politics during his college years, despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife with political activity. So when it comes to double blank or triple blank text completion, remember, it's not just about the vocabulary, it's our ability to read the text and understand it also plays a vital role. Okay. First one is activism. Very good. And so first one is activism. And the second one is, yes, indifferent too. No, not devoted. Okay. So we know that the first part of his life and the second part are different, right? And during the college years, Simpson was blank towards politics. Am I right? And what clue do we have? Despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife with political activity. Am I right? So the where he was attending was rife with political activity, but despite that, how was he? So despite that, he was very, not bothered about it. So he was indifferent towards politics. Okay. And what do we know? The second part of his life was contrast. So he was into political activism. Is that clear, everyone? So you need to look for the right clues to answer these kind of questions. Okay. 1 minute. So let us look at this question in geometry. You know that majority, say some 6 to 8 questions are from, so you can try this question from geometry. Class, can you see the question? So this one says if the length of two sides of a triangle are 5 and 9 respectively, which of the following should be the length of the third side of the triangle? So what rule did you use there, Deepak? What is the rule that you used here? No, we cannot use Pythagorean. Okay, so the third side rule, right? The third side of a triangle should anywhere be between the difference between the other two sides and the sum of the other two sides, right? So anywhere between 9 minus 5, which is 4, and 9 plus 5, which is 14. Okay, so the correct answers are 5, oops, sorry, 5 and 1 minute, 5 and 8. Okay, okay, so let us move on to doing that. So when will you take the test, the GRE test? So there are two things which decide when do you take the test. The first thing is the university deadline. Say if you're someone who is in the final year and you want to apply for the uh, masters for the next year, right? So your university deadline is the one which will decide when do you take the test, right? Or if you're someone who has already started preparing, remember GRE scores are valid for 5 years. You can take the test and keep the scores ready. So in such a case, you can decide to take the test when you are ready. Okay, so when you practice, you know that you have learned things, you have reached a particular stage where your scores have become a bit consistent. So right at that point of time, you can decide to take the test. And what to do on the test day? Remember, take the easy test first. Okay, within a section, all the questions have the same weightage. Take the easy test and then move on to the harder one. If you don't know something, don't panic because you cannot do anything about it right at that point of time. Right? So, there is a possibility that whatever you score you get might be enough, or worst case scenario, you have an option of taking the test again. Okay, but on that particular day, don't panic. And don't forget to accept your score, right? At the end of the test, it gives you an option of canceling or accepting. Please go ahead and accept the score. Okay. Yeah, little bit about your AWA. It does not contribute towards your 340 score, but then we were talking about the percentiles, right? So a decent score to match your 320 plus would be anywhere between a 4.5 to 6. Okay, so here is your percentile value for AWA. Okay, so a decent one will be anything above 4.5. If you look at 4, it is just 50th percentile, right? Okay, so this is a quick recap of what we have seen. So play by the rules. Don't worry about the pressure. Work on your timing. Have proper strategies for both math and verbal, and plan and practice regularly. Right. These are some of the requirements for a few departments from the top universities. Okay, so the requirement varies from university to university and from course to course, right? So if it's an engineering, they don't bother much about the verbal if you could see, but at least a 155 or 160 in most of the cases. And these are like the average scores. Okay, these are not the top scores. Any queries, people? We have come to the end of the session. If you have any queries, you can raise it in the chat box. Anything related to your preparation or generally about GRE? Nikila, you will not be able to evaluate yourself. You have the scorer tool, which is like $20, where they will do the scoring for you. But personal evaluation is a bit difficult. Fee structure for what, Avinash? For our GRE course, you might want to contact the helpline given here or send an email to info@Manya Group. Tips for vocabulary. Abhiram, you need to have a proper source for preparation, and you can use mnemonics, you can use root words, not just learn the meaning, but learn it in multiple ways, right? Kavisha, you might want to look at the university websites for a better information on the course they require, right? Bhumika, I didn't get your question, the previous question. Could you please repeat it? So, yet there are certain universities which will accept the scores maybe up to even Jan. Okay, so you still have chances. Sai Shankar GRE versus GMAT for MBA. So, MBA say they look for a 720 plus score, and a corresponding good score on the GRE will be a 330 plus. Okay, or maybe even a 335, depending on the school that you're looking for. Bhumika, what was your question? One second. Okay, fall of 2021, right? Right. So you need to look for the universities that still accept your scores. Okay. Maninder, same thing. Okay. Some of the universities, maybe the good ones, they close by the end of December, but then there are other things too. Classes, whether they're offline. Dhruv, we have online classes going on, and the offlines are also getting started soon. So you might want to take a call there, whether to attend the online or the offline classes. Uh, Bhumika, the admission queries, I would suggest that you talk to the helpline number or the info@malibgroup.com. You can send your queries there. We will get back to you. Okay, didn't get GRE yet. I'm worried about this. Uh, Manindra, that is what your doubt was about, right? Rohit, that is a very vague question. How many vocabulary words should we study? So, if you have difficulty with vocabulary, you might want to start with reading comprehension and try to maximize your verbal score there. Okay, at least a minimum of 500 to 600 words for a decent, say 145 kind of score. If you're looking at, you need to know around say 600 words. Okay. Dhruv, more than the book that you're using, it's better that you have a proper score with a proper prep course with the right strategies, right? Self prep is okay. So what I would suggest is rather take a test. Okay, so many free tests are available. Take a test to see where you stand first. Okay, so if you have, say, a 310 or a 315, you can think about a self step. But if you have something less than that, it is better that you take professional help. And that again depends on how much do you want to score on the test. Okay, Uh, Gurpreet, I may not be the right person to give you the correct information here. It depends on so many things. First thing is like the course that you're choosing, right? The second thing is the university that you want to get into. Okay, so we have admission experts in Mania, so you can probably direct your question to info@maniagroup.com. They will be able to guide you better in this. If you have any queries about the preparation, the academics part of it, I will be grateful to help you in that. Fee plan, as in Lakman, you are talking about Nikila. We have one in the Princeton review.com, right? You can register there for free and take a test. GRE course. Um, Lakman, you can contact our helpline or send an email. So verbal is weak. Uh, no, reading newspapers may not be the right way to speak. Maybe that can help you with the speed, but as far as the GRE goes, it's more about understanding the passage and answering the questions. Okay, so it's more about how fast you can read the passage, what to read and what to skip, right? And how to answer the questions, how to get rid of the wrong one. So that is what I was talking about, a proper strategy. 1 month, Bhumika, again, it depends on where you are right now. 1 month to improve your vocabulary, as in how many words do you want to learn. So there is a limit, okay? Around, say, you can learn around 50 to a max of 100 words per week, okay? So if you're talking about a month, say you can learn up to, say, 300 to 400 words. So I don't know where you are right now, okay, but that is the scenario. But if you are, like in a hurry to take the test and you have not started anywhere, then you might want to think about the high frequency GRE words, right? They can at least cover them, the high frequency GRE words. Dhruv, see, we have one-on-ones as well as batches. Okay, so if it's a weekday batch, roughly 1 month. If it's a weekend batch, then weekday batch as in 4 days per week, and if it's a weekend batch, 2 days per week. So that will run up to 2 months. And other than that, we have one-on-ones. So that could be finished according to your availability, right? If you want to speeden up your thoughts, then probably you might want to look for the one-on-one. Okay, class. Uh, Marking on the GRE. So I mean, your math. The basic score will be 130 and it goes up to a 170. Okay, in increment of one, and same thing on the verbal. Okay, and within a section, like I said, all the questions carry the same weightage, and depending on the difficulty level of the section, your weightage will slightly change. Okay, so questions within a harder section will have more weightage than a questions within a medium level section. Decent score will be, say, depending again on the colleges, but what we normally suggest, if you want to go for a good score, it will be something like a 320 plus. Sujit, the more the better. Manual along with the supplement, and I would also suggest that you go for the drills on the portal, right? They are more important. GRE home at GRE center. So if you have issues accessing test center, you can take it at home. So this is available 24/7 up to December 31st. Okay, and you need certain specifications, as in certain conditions satisfied to take the test at home. Okay, you will need to have a laptop or a desktop. You need to have a webcam, and you need to have proper speakers. You cannot use headphones or earphones. There are lots of restrictions, and you have to download the ProctorView software. The test happens through the ProctorView, and you will have a human proctor who will be watching you taking the test. Okay. Otherwise, the structure of the test, the scoring, everything remains the same. At the end of the test, you will get to know your score also. Is it clear, Ujjwal? You cannot use regular papers. Okay, so you can either use a whiteboard or you can use a transparent sheet, erasable transparent sheet. Scholarship for colleges, you will have university scholarships as well as other fellowships available, right? So you might want to try for one of the essentials to be taken to the test center, your passport. A fellowship also means assistantship or scholarship, Bhumika. So it can be internal or external, either ways. Any more doubts, people? Good score in analytical is at least a 4.5. Yeah, correspondingly, see, this is one way of showing the university that you have good critical thinking, and also, as a foreign student, this is one way of showing them your verbal or your language proficiency. Okay, so don't take the EWA lightly. It's better to have it usual because your GRE also helps you with your some as a competitive thing, whether you're applying for fellowships or if you're looking for even your teaching assistants or research assistants, there too your GRE scores come into play. So if you have an option, better take and have the scores. That will still give you an upper hand. Not many universities, by the way, have waived it, right? Only some of them have. Yes, you are allowed to send your scores to four universities on the spot, Nikila. Free of cost. For start, you have to pay and send the individual score reports. So I think it's around $27 per university. Shanmuga, you can take the mobile to the center, but you have to leave it at the locker provided to you. You cannot take it to the test place, right? Your wallet or your mobile, all these things you need to leave it. And another important thing is you cannot use your mobile during the 4 or 5 hours you are within the center. Okay, in between break you cannot use the mobile. You will be penalized. I think you'll not be allowed to continue with the test if you do that. Okay, people, if you don't have any doubts, shall we wrap up the session? All the best to all of you. Do well and surely get back to us. Right? Bye.